Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you know, and I think most of the people here have probably heard, but I'm going to give some explanation before I have an amendment, so it makes sense. About a month ago, the Attorney General, exercising his powers as Chief Law Enforcement Officer, settled a civil lawsuit with Barletta, the general contractor, over the contaminated fill on the 610 connector project. And he certainly has the power to bring the suit. He has the power to decide the value of the suit, and he has the power to decide whether or not to settle the case and at what number. But he then, on his own initiative, took the $11 million settlement and made a determination to take the $11 million and give it to who he chose to give it to. Now, that is taxpayer money. It's money that should belong in the appropriations process, this budget tonight. He gave $1 million of it to different state departments, and bulk of it, $10 million, was given to pediatric dental care in parts of the city of Providence. This is not about who he gave it to. I don't think anybody argues about helping poor kids who don't get dentistry to get dentist care. It's about the process. We passed a statute 2 years ago in the budget. It was in Article 2, Section 10. It's been codified at Title 42, Section 9, 19.1, and Section 19. I would tell you that all we did was really codify the existing law at that time, but if you want to argue the existing law changed, so be it. The point of the matter is there's a statute on the books from 2 years ago that makes it clear that money from this settlement should go to the general fund and be appropriated as part of this budget process tonight. The Attorney General was aware of the statute because we passed it 2 years ago in part to help him with the staffing dispute that he was having with Governor McKee. I'm sure we all remember that because I think most of us were here 2 years ago. When he was challenged on this, by the way, he hasn't argued that the statute says something different because the statute, if you want to look at it, is clear as day. What he has said is that it doesn't apply to him, that we don't have power over him. And he fell back in some of the interviews he gave on the Constitution. Well, if you look at the Constitution, which you can all find on the website, the Constitution mentions the office of the Attorney General twice. Article 4 talks about the election of the Attorney General and every 4 years and so forth in the context of the other general officers. It says nothing about the power. And then there's the Article 6, I believe it's 6, Section 12, which is the executive power section of the Constitution. Section 12 is 2 lines. And all it says is the duties and powers of the Secretary, meaning the Secretary of State. The Secretary, the Attorney General, and the General Treasurer shall be the same under the Constitution as are now established or as from time to time may be prescribed by law. And just to be clear, that's Article 8. Article 6 puts the power to prescribe the law, as we all know, in the General Assembly. So what we have is an Attorney General taking $11 million, which is real money, deciding on his own prerogative to just give it away to a private entity. Again, it's not about whether the money's to be used to do good. It's not about that. It's about who makes that decision. And when he has been challenged on that publicly, he has flaunted it. He has been arrogant. He has said, bring it on. It is an insult to every member of this chamber. This is not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. It's not about liberals. It's not about conservatives. It's an insult to every member of the Senate. We need to do something to stop this because there is nothing to stop him or his successors from doing the same thing down the road. And who knows? The next settlement he enters, I think he just entered one yesterday, and something else. The next settlement he enters could be for, instead of $11 million, $111 million. It could be for $1 billion. Under his logic, he can take that and give it to whoever he wants. Clearly, that is not the law. It's expressly not the law on the statute that we passed, and he is flaunting our authority. As I said, we need to do something, Mr. Speaker. Now, there's several options. The General Assembly could file a suit. That would, I think, have to come through you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if I have standing as an individual member to do it, but I'm not going to hire legal counsel to do it. We have staff. So the Speaker and Senate President could file suit. We could impeach him. That's not a bad idea, but I don't think the votes are here. Were I the Speaker, I might have had a private meeting and read in the Riot Act and told him maybe we're going to let this slide one time, but if it ever happens again, we're going to defund his entire office, which, by the way, we can do. Title 42, Section 9 of the general laws spells out everything about the Attorney General's office. Without those statutes and our appropriations, the Attorney General is an elected constitutional officer with no power and no money. And if we wanted to, we could defund his entire office. Not advocating we do it, but we could do it. But the one thing we can do tonight is we can make him have to claw the $10 million back from the Rhode Island Foundation, which he can do by reopening the settlement. So I'm going to move my amendment now. And that gets me another 5 minutes, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute.
That's what happens when you're here a long time. I'd like to move LC 000672/4.
Leader Newberry, Representative Newberry moves LC 000672/4. Seconded by Whip Place, Representative Fascia, Representative Quattrochi, Representative Nardone, Representative Roberts.
So this amendment is very simple. It takes the $11 million, which is the amount of the settlement, out of the budget of the Attorney General, and it redirects it. And I'll read it briefly, and I will explain these. It gives $1 million to the following organizations: the Economic Progress Institute, Rhode Island Kids Count, the Arthur E. Coya Scholarship and Education Fund at the Laborers International Union of North America, the Women's Fund of Rhode Island, Progresso Latino, the United Way of Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Dental Association to support pediatric dental care in the city of Providence, the Rhode Island Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Save the Bay, Crossroads Rhode Island, and Sojourner House. And I will tell you, I'll be right up front, I almost included the Warwick Animal Shelter, Mr. Speaker, but I thought that might be a bridge too far. Look, I don't personally want to give $1 million to all of these organizations. I bet nobody here does either, but that is not the point. The point is, this should be the decision of the people in this chamber and the Senate. The Attorney General needs to be taught a lesson. This is one way to teach him a lesson. Take the $11 million from his budget and make him go back crawling to the Rhode Island Foundation, which, by the way, should have stepped up and returned the money, and they still can. Go back, unwind the settlement, not the settlement with Barletta, the part where it goes to the Rhode Island Foundation, into, by the way, the Rhode Island Attorney General Kids Fund, I think he had the gall to call it, okay? Get the money back from them. Stand up for this chamber. It's not about me, it's not about the Speaker, it's not about any one of us. It's about this institution. You need to defend the institution. That's why we need to pass this amendment.
Thank you. And for the record, Representative, you will, if you included the Warwick Animal Shelter, it would not have been the first time that someone has lobbied me and for a bill and say, this isn't for me, Speaker, this is for Merlin. So if you don't know, Merlin's my dog. So I appreciate it. I guess lobbying knows no bounds. Leader Chippendale, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Representative Newberry has been fairly consistent on this issue, very consistent rather, on this issue since it sort of bubbled up. And just to put some of the hypotheticals that have been offered over the course of this dialogue or monologue from Rep. Newberry, there is a lawsuit in the state of Rhode Island right now regarding the Washington Bridge. We're all very much aware of that. And it's a $600 million lawsuit. Setting a precedent of this nature, or allowing this precedent to be set, we're not setting, we'd be allowing it to be set, is setting the table. While I admit it would be daring of the general to try to do something with that large of a sum, but we're certainly setting that, or allowing that precedent to be set. That's a very real application of, again, what has been hypothetically put before everyone, whether it's in this chamber or in the public. And I think that danger is real. We will often in this room qualify our statements with, it's not about this particular speaker or not about this particular governor. But in this case, it is, because this is the first time that this has happened. It is a wise move. It is a move that reflects the reverence for this body and for what our constitutional obligations are to the people of the state of Rhode Island. And it's something that I think will send a very strong and absolute message that we do all have a certain amount of latitude in our constitutionally endowed authority in our elected offices, but we don't have this much latitude, nor should we ever allow this much latitude to be attained by any general officer. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Leader. Representative Felix, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a question regarding the amendment.
Representative Newberry, will you yield? He will yield.
Thank you. Do we know if any of the money that was allocated to Rhode Island Foundation for that dental youth work has been spent, any amount?
I don't know. I've heard informally two different versions. Because if you look at the settlement agreement, that, by the way, I'll answer your question, but just for the record, one of his defenses is that the court approved this. Now, the court rubber stamped it, okay? I'm not criticizing the court. He's the chief and law enforcement officer of the state. If he settles something, he says, well, this is approved, I'm following the law, what judge is going to challenge it? But the settlement agreement doesn't say anything specific. What I have heard is two different stories. One, I've heard that some of that money is going to be allocated over time, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but maybe it is. What I've also heard is that the plan is to buy a $1 million or so mobile dental unit, put it into those 3 neighborhoods in Providence, and have dentists donate their time, not donate, they'll get paid, but dentists come from elsewhere to donate their time and be reimbursed. If that's true, what we do with the mobile dental unit when money runs out, I have no idea, but I can't answer more definitively. I've heard that from different sources.
Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate it. My only concern would be if money has been allocated and it has to come back, let's say families have been serviced already, whether or not that money is going to come directly from families or whomever has been serviced. Just want to be cautious on that.
No, it's a fair question. First of all, don't forget the settlement was only entered into literally less than a month ago. So I'd be shocked if anything was. I mean, I just settled a case a month ago, and the insurance carrier involved is still writing checks. So I mean, I don't think the money's actually gone anywhere yet. The Rhode Island Foundation, as I pointed out, and I'm not faulting the Rhode Island Foundation. However they got involved in this, if somebody said, hey, and then we'll take $10 million, but they could give it back. But I don't think any family's going to be charged for this. I can't imagine that'd be a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Nardone, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this amendment. As somebody on the Finance Committee, I see how difficult budgets are, and I've seen the shortfall in the budget this year. And I remember reading about this case and this settlement, and I remember cornering Rep. Newberry, asking him, is there any legal discourse, or is this right? Is this plausible? And he pointed me to the legislation that dictates that no, and it's quite clear. The Attorney General did not have the authority to do this, and they shouldn't have done it. This is $10 million of taxpayers' money. We direct where the money goes. We steer the finances in this chamber. And I applaud Rep. Newberry. He's a very, very good litigator, and he explained the situation very well, and I think this amendment should be supported.
Thank you, Representative. Leader Blazajewski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. I rise in opposition to this amendment, and I have to give my friend Rep. Newberry credit. He listed a lot of organizations here that I think many of this room really like. He indicated he's actually not interested in giving any of these resources to these organizations. I'm sure many in this room, he selected them based on the appeal that they have to many in this room. But putting that aside, because I think this is about the point that Rep. Newberry wishes to make, which is about the process here. And I'd say that what Rep. Newberry is suggesting is that this amendment will somehow facilitate or require a clawback of the money that was spent in the settlement. And what it actually does is pull $11 million right out of the Attorney General's budget. Now, some might say, well, that's a good thing to do. Let's punish the Attorney General. What I think is that the Attorney General's office serves the people of Rhode Island. The people that lose from this amendment through a budget that's been well vetted are the people of Rhode Island who rely on the Attorney General's office and the lawyers there for consumer protection, for environmental protection, for litigating in defense of civil rights and the rights of the state in federal and state court. They rely on the Attorney General's office for public safety. So those are the people that are hurt by this amendment. So I strongly urge you, ladies and gentlemen, to defeat it. I know that there's been some discussion of precedent. I don't see this as setting a precedent in any way. Should there be any proceedings on any future settlements, that would be dealt with in the regular course. But I'd urge, for the purposes of this, not to hurt the people of the state of Rhode Island by passing this amendment and really eviscerating some of the efforts that the Attorney General's office and their staff do to protect Rhode Islanders every day. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge defeat. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Newberry, please.
Yeah, no, thank you, Leader Blazewski. First of all, some of these organizations I'd be happy to give money to, just not all of them. That's all I said. Although there's none in my district, unfortunately. I didn't want to be too forward. In all seriousness, though, I get your point, but let's also be realistic. Yes, we're taking $11 million out of the line item, but money for the year is not spent in one day. So the Attorney General's office is not going to suddenly shut down. We're not going to lose prosecutors. What this will force him to do is crawl on his knees to the Rhode Island Foundation and unwind the settlement. That's what will happen. I understand I can't promise that, but I think we know that's what will happen. So no one is going to actually get hurt by this. I get you have to make an argument against it. I do. And remember, my point I said earlier, I think we should do this to send a message. But if we sued him, Mr. Speaker, or we had articles of impeachment, I wouldn't put the amendment in. We need to do something very publicly, we and the Senate, because his behavior is arrogant and outrageous.
Thank you. And with that, there are no other lights on the amendment. All opposed, please vote red. All against, vote green. All for, vote green. Clerk, unlock the machine, please. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 13 in favor, 60 opposed. The amendment is defeated.